It is though, isn't it?
Right.
It's tiring.
Yeah, it is.
You have to have a bunch of energy. You think the newscasters, I think, must be exhausted.
You have to have a good coffee.
Yeah, lots of good coffee.
Right.
Okay, so Lori and I have been talking about the Compassion Project. We've talked about why she created it, what it is, so you can check that out in episode 1 and episode 2. We talk about what is self-compassion, boom, boom, boom. What is self-compassion, Lori? What's our one-liner? Truth, living in your truth. And so we talked about how you can have it at work,
Right.
and how it pertains to living your life's purpose, because so many people hate their jobs.
Right.
I used to be one of those people.
Right.
I mean, I was going to be a financial advisor.
I would be your client if you were my financial advisor. I'd buy anything from you, Candace.
Thank you. I could do that. It's true. I still am licensed. Okay.
The only reason that you wouldn't do it is because it didn't bring you joy.
It didn't bring me joy. And for some people it did. And I know the most incredible financial advisors, but for me it wasn't a joyful thing.
Right.
Right? So I had this idea that work has to be really, really hard.
Right.
And that it's a grind. And that's just the way it is.
And that's the belief I really want you to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is this idea, whether it's a relationship or whether it's work, that it needs to be really, really hard.
And that's where I'm going with it, because that's where people feel about relationships, right? That they have to be, especially romantic relationships.
Right, that they're very difficult, they're hard to hold on to, people are going to leave them, the communication's no good, it's hard to keep the fire in the relationship, all these ideas about what a relationship is. But let me ask the question, if you felt good about yourself, either way, whether you were in a relationship or not, would a relationship really take that much out of you?
Say that again. Ask that question again. Go.
So if you felt good about yourself,
yes,
and you felt complete, let's say,
yes,
and you really didn't feel like you needed anybody in your life. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I have in my life.
Yes.
And you know, if somebody came along, in fact, I've had people say to me, you know, I wasn't really looking for somebody, and now there's this person, and you know, it's kind of upsetting me because I felt so comfortable in my own skin. And that's the whole point. You want to feel comfortable in your own skin. So if you feel complete in yourself and satisfied and full by yourself, people will come and go in your life, and you'll take something from that. Wasn't that interesting? Or I learned this from this person. But you're not devastated. You don't have this hole in your heart like somebody.
And you don't feel like you failed.
Or you sacrificed, or you were a martyr, or a victim of somebody. Somebody did something to you.
Yeah.
Or somebody made you feel a certain way.
Right. That's what we all want, though, right? That sense of wholeness, so that the people coming in and out of our lives are kind of like candy. It's just this fun, I don't know why, I just imagine being
they add to your life.
Yeah, like I'm like, here's some candy, Lori, and you're like, here's some. And
But that's so true.
Right, yeah.
Right, because everybody brings you something. Even your most challenging relationships are the most fruitful relationships for you spiritually.
So let's talk about this. You're in a difficult relationship, whether it be at work or a romantic relationship. I think that's where people really get tripped up, is what I've noticed. And you notice it, and you're watching this. And we've already said for the work one, get a coach, you know. We've talked about the essential components of self-compassion and having some kind of practice as well as self-awareness in that. So you're in this relationship, it doesn't feel good, because we now know that living compassionately, what compassion means, you feel good. There's a sense of joy or aliveness or truth or being, peace ultimately. What do? What's the first thing you do? So you're in a relationship, it sucks. I want it to be so much better.
Well, you know, the principle is just the same, almost identical to being in a work job that you don't like. You need to look at the pluses and the minuses, and then look at the part. When you look at the minuses, you need to look at where those things are really true, or whether you are contributing to the minuses, right? And then you have to say, this person is not. What we do as people is we look for someone else to perform a certain way for us, or we have expectations. So the first thing you need to say, is it that my expectations aren't being met by this person? And what am I expecting that this person's going to do for me in my life? And why do I need this person to behave a certain way? Okay, certainly we all have the expectation that somebody should be in your life not to hurt you.
Right.
Physically, right? Or emotionally abuse you. But some people always hear emotional abuse, whether it's true or not. So the first thing you need to do is, what kind of thoughts do I have about myself? And is this a situation that I not only see in our relationship, but do I see this in the world out there? Is everything I do painted with purple?
So, for example, am I a victim in this relationship because I don't feel like I deserve any more?
And is that reflected in other areas of my life?
Right, and maybe it's true. Maybe I say, you know, Lori, yeah, I'm totally imperfect. I should be in better shape. I could be a kinder person. And because I'm not this way, maybe this is what I deserve.
Right. Or I'm never going to find somebody, so I'll settle.
Right. Who's gonna want me? So
Right.
I'm just good. Here's something.
Yeah. So in that statement, when you say, who's going to want me? How about you? How about you wanting you? So when you say, who's going to want me, you're already stepping out of yourself to say, I'm abandoning myself. I'm not my own best friend. So the first thing you have before you look for somebody to be in your life is ask the question, am I in a spot in my life where I'm my own best friend? Where I'm not going to abandon myself and I'm not going to settle for behavior that's not my own best friend wouldn't give. Right?
Right. And it all comes to down how you determine that. Well, what feels right from your higher self? That's your truth for you and for everyone else.
It's for your highest good. Right?
Right.
Your highest good.
And that's Gidget the Midget. Hold on. We'll do a little cut there for you, Gidget. Okay. So if you're wondering why we have a dog in the shot all of a sudden, it was because we edited and we put her back in because she was barking, okay? So
it's hug therapy.
Gidget is our star. She comes in and out. So Lori, we were talking about relationships and having compassion, self-compassion, because really what I'm hearing from you is unless we feel good about ourselves, we are not going to feel good about any other choices or partners.
It's never going to work. And you can only give to someone what you have for yourself first. So if you don't love yourself, you constantly, in the Compassion Project, one of the things that a lot of the practitioners have determined is how often they talk bad to themselves. So if you spend 75% of your day talking bad to yourself, how are you going to interact with other people?
You might shrink,
or you might be aggressive, or you have a lack of intimacy. You can't really be present because you're not present for yourself. So there's this whole snowball effect.
So it feels like everything really stems from the space of self-compassion.
Right, everything. Work, health, and relationships.
And we haven't talked about health. Are we still going to talk about health?
Sure.
Okay. So that was going to be our next episode. So we'll wind this one down. You're in a romantic relationship. It's not working out. And what I'm really hearing is it's based on everything else. You have to go inward and see what's going on.
Well, and the other thing is that you're also making a big leap of faith, because let's say you and I are in a relationship. Don't tell it my husband. Let's say you and I are in a relationship. I have to feel good about myself, but you also have to feel good about yourself, because the dynamic gets very skewed if you're busy in your own self-criticism and I want to love you. Who am I loving? You're over there thinking bad about yourself. You're never able to be present with me in the present moment because you're always disconnected. So in the perfect relationship, I'm connected to Source, you're connected to Source, and then we come together.
And so what I really get from all of this too is you have to have some kind of spiritual connection, which is really connection to self.
Right. Where you connect to the higher self.
Yeah.
And do some self-reflection and dialogue with yourself.
Okay, cool. So guys, this sounds sometimes heady, but really it's just about connecting with your truest essence, right? Right.
That's correct.
And that's what it's, and in whatever way calls to you, and it's different for everyone.
That's right.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're moving on to episode number 5.
Okay.
Okay, so